Good evening, everyone. My name is Kaya Harvey from the class of 2015, and I will be your MC. I would first like to introduce the wonderful, beautiful coordinator of this event, Ruby Nagashima.
So it's my pleasure to introduce the Residential Life co-curricular program, where SUA students share reflections of their college journey and in the spirit of SOCA demonstrate their collegiate success and transition skills to you, their fellow peers and members of the SUA community. Tonight, you will experience SUA Talks. Inspired by TED Talks, SUA Talks is a platform for students in their final year at SOCA to deliver powerful talks, to spread ideas, and generate conversation, all in 11 minutes or less.
We hope you enjoyed the conversation via Instagram with the hashtag SUAXTalks. The most interesting photo and caption on Instagram will win a free SUA bag, SUA Talks bag. Look at that! Look at that! In addition, we'll also have a few fun giveaways, so hold on tight to your raffle tickets. The winners must be present to win, so make sure you stay to the end of the event. 4 or more years of education at SOCA equals an abundance of experience and stories to share, including an expansive knowledge on the subject of their capstone. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our first speaker from the class of 2015, giving a talk on single mothers in higher education, Carol Irving.
Okay, thank you for that. I also just want to say thank you very much to Ruby and everyone who organised this event, because I think it's a great opportunity to share capstone, because we were talking earlier today at lunchtime about how, once we've done our capstone, we've spent, 9 months expending effort and energy on the capstone, and, it's going into the basement of the library under lock and key. So it's nice to be able to share it. And my talk's actually going to be a bit of a kind of mashup of my experience and capstone and a few words of appreciation and random comments here and there. So I'll try and get through it within 11 minutes. As some of you know, if you went to the 100 Days experience, you know that my struggles here as a single mother student became the basis for my capstone. And I came here with my son, who was then 6, and I anticipated challenges because of my circumstances and my age, and thought that, I wasn't going to fit in. But I hadn't really anticipated that not fitting into the system would create so much suffering for my son and myself. I felt acutely at times that I was the wrong sort of student, and I found it extremely painful at times to endure. I was kind of shocked because, I had expected SUA to be this embracing, diverse college which was committed to social justice, so any difficulties would be dealt with sensitively and humanely and flexibly. And because, as I said, at 100 Days, because I wasn't able to live on campus with my son, and as an international student, I didn't have a car or a license, so it was a real struggle in the beginning. And, at times I asked for support, but I felt like I was being made to feel that I was asking for special treatment when I was just trying to survive and have the same access to facilities as any other student. Fortunately, there were some great individuals, staff, faculty and students who supported me, but my battles for survival continued and I regretted coming here. Later I was accommodated off campus by SUA, and that made it much more bearable, so I was able to carry on. However, I felt that a lot of the difficulties I faced were due to the college being designed for a particular demographic and a particular group of students, so that if someone didn't fit into that box, it was problematic. But I also felt that the way these challenges were addressed here was connected to prejudice, fear, and the determination to follow the rules at any cost, because they were the rules. Anyway, it also meant I had a ready-made capstone topic, which was Mothers Left Behind, Challenges in Higher Education for Orange County Single Mothers. And I found a great mentor, Soledad, who unfortunately left, and then I had Anil as my mentor. And Soledad had direct experiences of these issues and understood why they mattered. And so I had great encouragement, and that encouragement really made me feel that I was doing something that would be valuable for other single mother students. And basically I decided to investigate whether other single mothers in Orange County colleges were confronted with the same kind of barriers in higher education, and to investigate what they did to overcome them and what changes they recommended for the future. I interviewed 6 such students. Some had already graduated many years ago, and others were still studying. However, after interviewing them and hearing their stories and their determination, I decided to publish their interviews as entire transcripts, which made my capstone very long, obviously, which is why it ended up at 100 pages. But half of that is the interview, so. It proved difficult to find students who were willing to participate, but through approaching community colleges and also snowballing, which is when you ask one person to recommend someone who wants to participate and then maybe they ask someone else, I eventually found a group of participants. As it was a qualitative research project rather than quantitative, it wasn't about having an ideal sample that represents the whole population, and it ended up that I spoke to mostly older mothers, many of whom graduated a while ago, and some of whom were continuing. They varied in other ways as well. In terms of academics, one attended community college, one had done a bachelor's degree, 2 had also done masters, and 2 had done or were doing PhDs. Single mothers in the media are stereotyped. They're usually considered to be young, unwed single mothers who are dependent on welfare and unwilling to work. And it's usually very negative connotations associated with this group of women. The women in my capstone were the polar opposite of this, and their dramatic experiences of battling to study while raising children were very inspiring and made me feel quite lazy sometimes compared to some of them. The only woman who was on welfare had survived domestic violence, and after her husband had been convicted, she went on to study at community college, bring up her 3 children, taking them to 3 schools, different schools each day, working part-time, studying and helping them with homework. And she had also actually tried to continue studying while battling stage 3 cancer at the same time, but obviously had to drop out for a while. And other women were, single mothers for different reasons. One was single, and others were divorced, and one had to cope with her ex-partner's mental illness as well as raising their children. Another had to look after a young baby and her elderly parents, as well as working as a teaching assistant and studying for a PhD. So these were incredibly strong, determined women. But their external circumstances meant sometimes that they had to drop out of college for a while. In fact, one participant continued studying over the course of several decades, to get her bachelor's and then master's degree. And the first time she'd gone into college education, she was married, but her husband had cancelled her scholarship behind her back because he didn't think women should study. This was a long, long time ago. This is going back decades, but that's why it took her so long to complete her education. And for those mothers who didn't live with relatives or didn't stay in the marital home, just as I had found, housing was a huge issue too. And even a faculty member I spoke to complained how difficult it was to afford living in Orange County. Like me, they found it incredibly expensive, and affordable housing was either rare or not actually affordable, costing about $1,300 a month. So sometimes choosing between buying food and paying rent was a dilemma. Also, childcare, finding childcare was problematic. And although some colleges do have childcare facilities and family housing, and a surprising number had both, very few private colleges actually do so. although there were 1 or 2 colleges who had actual specific programs for single mothers returning to college, which included family accommodation, childcare, and even free meal plans for the children. So I asked these students what recommendations that they would like to make for higher education, and a lot of things came out, like on-campus family housing, creating online networks of single mothers, having counselling, having classes in the evening, at weekends, in the summer, and obviously having greater financial aid. And you know, I could go on, but as I said, I went overboard in writing, so I'm going to hold back on that part. What I really felt about all this after Capstone was that in society today, the way we create and establish institutions is often based on maximising the greatest efficiency in terms of money and resources, and that society and institutions often function to create bureaucratic processes that suit the needs of the organisation but not the individual human being. So it's these processes that can become ones that dehumanise the individual. And when we base ourselves on a dehumanised society, that inevitably leads to suffering, isolation, conflict, discrimination and intolerance. So I think here at SOCA, because of SOCA values and its mission, we have a chance to do things differently. And I also feel that those individuals who uphold the values of SUA consciously fight to resist this tendency to be ruled by bureaucracy and create something greater and more important than just being another cog in the wheel of this 4-year educational process. I think it's by humanising our experiences and studies and applying them to our work that we find meaning and humanity in them. And it is through struggling together and encouraging one another that we can find a way forward. It's definitely been through sharing difficulties and through mutual support from others that has kept me going in my studies. And I also want to say that as someone of a completely generation to most people here, I feel genuinely privileged to have studied alongside those of you, these supportive classmates who have also committed themselves to this 4 years of relentless homework, essays, exams, extracurricular activities, and who kind of developed this kind of Zen-like patience in the face of endless bureaucracy, which is our main source of complaint here. Therefore, rather than considering your grades or honours as a measurement of your worth, know that you are truly fantastic just for still being here. And while each SUA class has traditionally had a particular theme which united them, I think our class of 2015, in some ways it's not like a very united class, because I think everyone is a kind of very individual character, and sometimes I think we've got nothing in common, but you know, everyone's trying to find their own way forward, their own path forward, whether it's quietly or loudly. And you know, because the SUA mascot is the lion, I think, you know, to be lions, we can't be sheep, you know. We can't just follow, we have to lead. And we have to be bold. And in the class of 2015, I think this boldness has manifested through campaigning for change. You know, in the time I've been here, classmates have achieved on-campus gender-neutral housing, organised social protests and teachings about racism, campaign for more recycling, whether it's food boxes in the cafeteria or recycling caps and gowns. You know, and that's just a few things, and I think, you know, family housing should be maybe next on the agenda. But being bold is necessary for any fundamental change, and it's something I've found our Daisaku Ikeda constantly urges us to do through our studies. When we try and initiate change, that can actually be intimidating to people, especially in institutions, and any institution can become stagnant and complacent, no matter what its aims are. And in any organisation, whether we work there or not, we can fall into the same trap of following rules for the sake of rules, accepting the status quo, and you know, it's easy for us to do that too. So I think the way to fight dehumanisation is to humanise. And in my capstone, I felt I was helping give a human voice to the reality of women who are dehumanised through the media stereotypes. And from what they told me personally, I know they felt valued and their experiences were validated through their participation in the project. And Ruby's just saying my time's up. But I just want to say, although we might be the only ones to speak out, and that's scary, and people won't like it, sometimes integrity is more important. And, you know, real lions are actually very scary. So I hope that you will all be SUA lions, always.